Hi everyone, I have another exciting update on my Osteodouce journey. Namely, I've learned how to harmonize genes and it's blowing my mind. Okay, so I've been studying pathophysiology for the last 5 weeks, had my mid-session exam, whatever. Part of it was genetics, autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, mutated genes, how it works, how they become mutated, what happens when they, all that stuff about genes. It's been really super interesting. And for the last few weeks as well, I've been working with clients with severe chronic issues, and I've looked up maybe I can work at a genetic level. I had a fibromyalgia patient, and working with her, I've been working on her lymph, I've been working on muscles, I've been working on the skeletal, getting all the bones, and all her bones were all over the place. Anyway, so I've been doing all of that, and that's been good. At the end of every session, it's like, thank you, I'm in so much less pain. A couple of times she was pain-free, but it would always come back over the next couple of days, and then the next time I saw her, she'd still be in a lot of pain. So it was a bit like playing whack-a-mole and being on a hamster wheel, and I'm like, surely there's a faster way of helping this woman out. I'd read through the parent technique that getting the alignment of the bones in the thoracic vertebrae was really super important. Working on the sympathetic nervous system, working on the lymphatics, getting them moving and flushing. And then I read another super interesting book on fibromyalgia, which saying it was a genetic thing. It wasn't a structural thing. It was, there's an enzyme in the kidney which, when it's got the right genetic code, it can grab onto phosphates and flush them out of the system. And with fibromyalgia patients, he was saying this enzyme doesn't work, or it's got a very limited amount of what it doesn't work very, very well. So only a tiny bit of phosphate gets flushed out. And in order, for the people to get better, they need to, he found an over-the-counter medication called guanefacine. And he said you start taking that, and that works as what the enzyme should work. But there's a lot of strict protocols. You can't use any kind of herbal things or anything with salicylates in them because it negates the drug. And it's a long-winded journey of, I think it's like a year or another year and a half. But he did say that when people were on this drug and they did all the protocol correctly, like 95-98% of them got better. And it worked by getting the phosphates, which have been forced into tissue cells, and then extra water would be surrounded it to stop it from being too acidic or toxic for the cells, and then that would press on nerves, and it was keeping the muscles super tight. The muscles never got a chance to relax and caused a lot of pain. And so I thought, Osteodouce, why can't we go in and harmonize that genetic code in there so it's working properly, so it can create the proper enzymes, and it can, you don't need to be taking over-the-counter medication the rest of your life. And maybe it'll work better, and maybe it'll work faster because, it's your body's creating this yourself. So that was my thinking, and, it's pretty ambitious. Thinking, okay, we're going to go to people's genetics and heal them of this, mutated gene. But I was willing to give anything a go. So, yeah, I started that with my client, and then I had another client with rheumatoid arthritis, and I was saying, I'm looking at all these genes and stuff, and she's going, they're genes for rheumatoid arthritis, and I said, I'll look into it, and I did, and there were. And so, I went to all these peer-reviewed articles and things and found the most, the likely genes that are most saying, if you've got these, you're much more likely to get rheumatoid arthritis, this is a gene for inflammation, this is a gene for this and this. And so I was doing all of that with my clients. I was going into their genes, I was going into the limbic system of the brain, because I'd learnt about the hypothalamus and the amygdala and the hippocampus and pituitary and pineals, so I was doing all that stuff as well. And then, so I was working on these clients for a few weeks, and the feedback was excellent. They were a lot stronger in themselves, emotionally they were much better. it was like a little shift had happened. And then, excuse me. Sorry, that was my son coming to show me a JoJo Bizarre Adventure meme. Anyway, so where was I? Talking about genes, and yeah, and then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try, what about that mother effer gene that, you know, everyone knows about in the autism community, the one that doesn't methylate properly and doesn't, you know, they can't get rid of heavy metals and all that kind of thing and stuff. So I thought, I'm going to look into that. And so I went in there, and I've been doing that on myself and doing that on my clients and on my daughter as well. So that's been super interesting. And just personally speaking, the last week while I've been doing this, I've had my own personal thing which has gone on, which threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting. But yeah, so for the last week I've been very stressed. I've had exams, I've had all the kids' end of year stuff, I've had all these things going on, and my bowel movements have been a little shaky. And then for three nights in a row this last week, I was waking up at like 4 o'clock, 4:30, between 3 and 5, and I wasn't able to get back to sleep. I was just super alert, and then play on my phone for an hour or two, and then I'd switch it off, and then I'd go back to sleep for another couple of hours. But so this happened like for about 4 or 5 days, and then the next day that it happened, I had to get up and go to the toilet, and I had like this bowel movement, and I went, oh, okay. Went back to sleep for a few days, wake up, had to have another bowel movement, and I'm thinking, is this the start of IBS, or do I have some horrible thing in there? Or I wasn't sure. And the next day, same thing happened. Woke up, couldn't get back to sleep. It was like, I need to go have another bowel movement. Went to the toilet. Came back. A few hours later, I needed to go again. And when I went again, it was a little bit stingy on exit. It was a bit, I was like, am I really in trouble now? It was like, why am I pooing so much? And why at like 4 in the morning and like 9 in the morning am I having all these bowel movements? It was a bit weird. And yeah, and then for the rest of the day, and then I was fine, and then the next day, you know, there was no diarrhea or anything. It was just, I had a lot of stuff to move out, to get out of there. And I've noticed that the underlying depression that I've had for most of my life is, you know, I've been able to keep it at a very quiet hum. I've been able to manage it quite well, but it's always been there, this kind of feeling of grief or sadness that I've had in my whole life. It seems to have gone. Like the last 2 days, I've been checking in, and I'm like, where is that heaviness? Where is that little heaviness there? Like, you know, like I'm just sad. Like it was gone. And I'm thinking, what gene was that? Was that the MTHFR, or was that the ones I've been working on for fibromyalgia? Because I've had inklings that maybe I had chronic fatigue in the past. I've had little bouts of being very, very fatigued, and then I've kind of gotten over it. But and chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia have a lot of similar characteristics and causation things for it. And I was just thinking, you've been working on a lot of people's emotional centers in the brain. You've been working on their hippocampus. You've been working on their hypothalamus, their pineal, their pituitaries. You've been working on people's emotional brain systems, and then you've been working on everyone else's genes and genetics. And with Osteodouce, the knock-on effect is when you work on people's body parts, it's like your body part gets a share of what's happening with your clients. So, you know, your health improves as part of being a practitioner. You know, it's been like that. I've had really great things happen with Osteodouce. I've been in the best health of my life, and it's just now working on these brain things and these genes and genetics, I think it's just pushed it to another level, and I think I'm reaping the benefits of it. So yeah, that's super exciting for me, and I'm super excited. My client with fibromyalgia, she's doing really well. She's having up and down days, but she's having days where she can actually sleep really well, which she's never had before, and other days where she's been really stressed and running around and would just leave her debilitated for a week. It's like she's been able to get over that in a day, and other things like that. And I'm saying, I think it's working. You know, I've been checking in on her every week, and sometimes the genes, they haven't stayed there. Sometimes they've gone low again, especially the inflammatory ones where they don't deal with inflammation. They've been quite low and knocked out. So there's definitely like a nutritional aspect to genes on these epigenetics. They can turn them on, turn them off, and help and stuff. Oh, and there was one other point I wanted to make as well about my own experience, is that I looked up, why am I waking up between, 3 and 5 a.m. and in traditional Chinese medicine, that's all about the lung meridian, and it's something to do with lungs. This is when your body's looking at the lungs, and emotionally, lungs signify grief, and so I'm like going, there's another dot to draw and line up, because the grief and lungs go together, and now my grief seems to have gone, and I'm thinking this Osteodouce has helped being able to flush out whatever was in there holding that grief in, whatever structures were in there that were holding that emotional vibe of being grief and sad, whether that was from the MEFV gene or whether was it from the fibro genes or the rheumatoid arthritis genes. I'm not sure, but whatever it was, it seems to have worked, and it seems to have removed it, and I've seemed to have just shut it out, and it's just amazing. So yeah, I'm not sure whether it's going to come back or not. This is still early days, but I'm pretty excited and happy. I mean, it's just, as Osteodouce practitioners, I think the world's our oyster, and I think we need to share this information with each other, and I think we need to encourage each other to look at stuff and try things out. I mean, when I do the genetic thing, I find the gene and I get a series of numbers, and that's the location on the chromosome where all the AUAG, amino acids line up, and they're all in a different kind of order. That's that section of that order. So I'll go, okay, so gene HLA DR4, and I would call it. I have no idea which chromosome it is or which part or where it is or whatever, but I know the name of it and what it does and what it makes. And I do the same thing. I just hold it and I wait. It can go inflamed. It could be turned off or knocked off. On some occasions, they even flip upside down, and then they come back. But I always say, I want to bring this gene into harmony so it can make proteins perfectly to give this person thriving health. That's the crux of it. It needs to be in harmony where it can make the correct genes, and then my hands will go, and then I will feel the harmonization, and then I harmonize. And so I encourage all of you, do this stuff, try it out, figure it out. Have fun with it, play with it. I think the more there are so many chronically sick and ill people out there. It's like, I'm not going to hoard this information. I can't help. I can only help a tiny amount of people who need to be helped. If we can all do this, if we can teach other people how to do this, every other Osteodouce practitioners how to do this, it would be brilliant. We'd be able to really make an impact. We'd be able to help each other out, that people would understand what Osteodouce is. They'd be excited to find a practitioner. We can refer each other on, we can make a really awesome network. Which is why, I'm not shy of sharing my findings or sharing my information, and I'm an anatomy nerd. I love learning about the body, and I love seeing where we can take things and pushing for things. So yeah, if you want to ask me more or anything, let me know, and I'd be quite happy to go over and just, it's just, this is the gene, this is where it is in harmony, this is where it's inflamed, this is where it's been knocked out, The genes can be like, they can be just under par, and they can make slightly imperfect enzymes which work, but, work all right, but not quite as well as they should. And then you've got ones that are like really, really super low that hardly work at all. And then you've got ones that maybe are hyperactive and work too fast. And then you've got ones that are just right. And they're just perfect, and they just work the way they're meant to work. So, yeah, it's been mind-blowing, and it's been really wonderful. So that's my little talk for today. I'm getting better at talking in front of the camera. I'm going to have to edit some of my stuff because my son keeps jumping in and being silly. But apart from that, have a wonderful summer solstice in Australia, winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. Merry Christmas, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.